What is this great conversation you're about to hear? Hello, everyone. This is W, host of the High Art on the Edge page. I'm an online event planner that supports artists' work from all over the world. They create the product. I help organize and execute a memorable event on social media for their fans, family members, and friends. In addition, I host a feature called Surprise, where online friends and I discuss the impact of an artist or band's work. We try to bring in special guests who have worked with the artist under the microscope to share a few stories. It's a rockin' good time. What do Duffy, super furry animals, and Catatonia all have in common? They come from the great place of Cardiff, the biggest city in beautiful Wales. But did you also know that Andy Bell, the multi-talented musician, also hails from that beautiful part of the world? You may be familiar with his vocal and guitar wizardry for the band Ride, strong bass punch with Oasis, and solo work as himself, and under another moniker, GLOK, and of course a side project with Masal. In today's conversation with DJ Yogi, we share some of our favorite Andy Bell moments that directly tie to our big essential question: why is Andy Bell the master of the 1-2 punch when it comes to making music? In addition, stick around for my extremely special conversation with Al Johnson and Özlem Şimşek. They are known as Masal and worked quite extensively with Andy on an album called Title Love Numbers, a must listen. Wait until you hear some of their stories. So, grab yourself a drink, have a seat, sit back, and enjoy our conversation about an influential and admired artist. Andy Bell is a master of pushing the sound waves to glorious frequencies. Get ready to smile. Yes. Hello, everyone. This is W, host of the High Art on the Edge page. Welcome to another surprise event. Today's focus, we are going to shine a beautiful, bright spotlight on a musician that has a great impact on the music world. Of course, we're talking about Andy Bell from Ride, and we're going to explore his unique capabilities in creating melodies, harmonies, electronic sounds, you name it. To do that, I'm going to bring in a very special guest who I've gotten to know quite well over the past year. His name is DJ Yogi. Yogi, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah. How are you, William?
I'm doing quite well. You know, I'm super excited for this event because I remember messaging you a long time ago and saying, hey, I have this idea.
Yeah.
Let's kind of explore Andy's music because I know you're a big fan of his. And that seemed like months, and now we've arrived, and I'm super excited to unearth and unpack our opinions on his work. Before we get started, can you just give us a little update on how you're doing? How's any new DJ gigs coming up? Anything you want to share?
Yeah. Well, just the other week, I had my first DJ set down in Edinburgh for film school. So local guys to you from the Bay Area, well, now located in LA. So they're touring their 7th album. And the album artwork, the photograph for the cover, is a picture that I took. So they invited me down to DJ. So yeah, done that. And I've got my Like a Daydream own DJ set here in Aberdeen. So my next one, I just started promoting it this weekend and getting the posters hopefully the next few weeks. The next one's on the 18th of November. So yeah, and I've got a DJ set this Thursday coming with an artist called GLOK.
Very nice.
Yeah. So I'm the support act. Yeah.
So just in case people don't know your DJing, your passion for DJing, just give us a quick little history and how you got involved with DJing work.
Well, believe it or not, when I started DJing roughly about 1994, it was techno that I played, but I was like the only guy in those clubs wearing indie bands, and then I broke away around about 96 and started doing an indie night in a venue called Cafe Drummond's, and this is where I'm DJing back. I'm back there DJing. This is, I think, my 4th period of DJing there. So yeah, So I started off with techno and hanging about with other DJs, and then started doing my indie shoegaze nights. But I've started doing some techno nights over the last year. I've started doing a lot more dancier stuff, electronica and minimal techno. But shoegaze is my thing. That's mainly my thing.
Now, that's kind of your moniker, right? That's what you kind of branded yourself. So what is it about shoegaze music that speaks to you?
The way that it's just a wall of sound and you can't really understand what the singers are saying because it's so noisy and it slaps you in the face. It just excites me. I mean, there's so much different kind of styles of shoegaze. You've got your dream pop, which can be a lot more female vocals, really ethereal. I've always said that shoegaze was invented in Scotland by two bands who founded in 1983. So you've got Cocktail Twins, which is your dream pop, and then the Jesus and Mary Chain, which is a wall of sound, lots of reverb and feedback. Take that two sounds together, and that's shoegaze. So yeah.
Do you actually know who actually coined the term shoegaze? Do you know who was responsible for that?
It was a music journalist back in, I think, 91. And I can't remember male or female, but it was written that looking at the stage and the guitarists, they just seemed to be looking down at their shoes, and that was it. The term came, the shoegaze, because of their effects pedals that they had and just the way that they just hit the effect and went bang and stared at their shoes. So that was it. But yeah, a music journalist.
So I want to know from you, when did Andy Bell's work begin to impact the way you listen to music?
Well, I got into Ride in 1990 when they started releasing their first EP, Ride EP. I think that was January 1990. There was a Saturday mornings. There used to be a music TV program here in the UK called The Chart Show, and it wasn't every Saturday that would have the indie chart, like indie. Then there'd maybe be dance chart, and then there'd be metal chart. But I remember being the indie one, and I can't remember. There was like Happy Mondays, Primal Scream, stuff like that. New Fast Automatic, Daffodils. So quite a big kind of Manchester scene, all the baggy stuff. And then Ride came about with Chelsea Girl, and it was like, whoa, what's this sound? This is different. Even though I was into like My Bloody Valentine prior to that. But yeah, that's right. Ride just had that different sound, that rawness. And with Andy and Mark Gardner, the way that they sing together, the harmonies, just perfect. You kind of melt into it.
And we'll get into that a little bit later. So what was your first Ride concert? Do you remember?
My first one, unfortunately, I didn't see them back in the day because I was just that bit too young, but they did play Aberdeen, I think in 92 or 93 when Going Blank Again came out. And a young band from Wigan called Verve at the time, they supported them. But yeah, I unfortunately, I didn't live in the city at the time. I lived about 60 miles north. And yeah, I wasn't 18, and yeah, so I just missed them. But my first, believe it or not, my first time seeing Ride live was when they reformed. So what was that? 2015, they played the Badlands. So yeah.
For the Weather Diaries tour?
This was before they released that.
Oh, before that. Okay.
Yeah. So there was no new material played live.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And what the biggest surprise was, it opened with Mousetrap.
Oh my goodness.
That was like, what? That was a slap in the face. We're back.
Yeah. That is a juggernaut of a tune. So that's a great. Oh man. Okay, so I want to ask you this kind of a bigger essential question. In exploring Andy's work with his bands and his solo work, there's something I've come up with, and he's kind of a master of the 1-2 punch. And what I mean by that is the music, the melodies, right, or the music and the vocal work.
Yeah.
So let's explore that question a little bit. And what we're going to do, we're going to share songs and talk about them a little bit. Songs that have kind of had an impact on the way we listen to Andy's work. And these are just our opinions. So I want to start with you, Yogi. Give us the song that you'd like to share your appreciation, respect for.
I would say off of this album, Nowhere, the 9th track, Vapor Trail, which Andy sings. He actually starts it with the guitar and he sings the whole song. It's a perfect ending to the album. And it's one of those hands in the air moment tunes. It's really iconic. It's more like, it's like an anthem. And even the crowds get involved and do the nah bits at the end. So yeah, that's pretty big from the debut album.
So I'm going to go, and in my notes right here, boom. And I know it's kind of an easy one to go to, but you have to give props where props are due, right?
Yeah.
And when you have a song like Vapor Trail that has become anthemic all across the world,
yeah,
you experience that in a live setting, you have to appreciate even though it is probably their most popular song, it's for a good reason, right? And for me, that song does several things. One, it reminds me how strikingly beautiful it is.
Yeah.
Two, it takes me back to when I first saw them many moons ago in San Francisco. And it's just kind of a rear view mirror of this feeling I had when I was much younger, this kind of lost feeling. And that song has this romantic appeal to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Always had me feeling safe and warm, even when my life was very turbulent. And I saved the turbulent lifestyle for when the tempos changed in their other songs. So that song always grounded me, but always kind of put me up in the clouds. Does that make any sense?
Oh, definitely it does. It takes arms around you and gives you the big cuddle, and it puts you in a bubble. And I don't know if you've heard, but it has been covered by some artists, and there's an American lady. I have met her. She played here in Aberdeen. I forget her first name, but she goes by the name of Trespassers William. She covered it. It was used in a TV advert as well.
It's gorgeous.
It is beautiful. Yeah, it's one of those, the hairs in your arms go like that. It's like you're tingling. Yeah.
She also did a very haunting rendition of another Scottish band, Trash Can Sinatra's.
Okay.
She did a great cover of Early's, which is out there. I've seen everything album. But yes, I've heard her version, and I think it's gutsy. I think it's kind of brave to take Ride's song and make it your own. And I think that's a great tribute to the band.
When she played here in Aberdeen, it was my birthday, and her guitarist, it was his birthday the day before, and so she dedicated a song to me, and it was another Oxford band. She covered Videotape by Radiohead.
Nice.
And there's some videos of that same tour that I'm on about on YouTube, and it's just beautiful. Yeah,
I'll have to check that out. All right, give us another song that you really admire.
A Ride one or solo or
either one. Solo. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Since I mentioned Vapor Trail, I'm going to his most recent solo album, Flicker. And I think this is like the new updated version of Vapor Trail. And it's the track Something Like Love. from that album there.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
So what is it about that song that speaks to you?
It actually makes me quite emotional. I've had a few tears in my eye, but it's tears of joy. And yeah, it's just really lovely. And that's, again, it's another one of those euphoria, heart, arms in the air, and then it gives you a hug, and you're in that bubble. But as I said, you cry, and yeah, it's tears of joy. It's just, yeah.
That album is tremendous in the scope and the depth of it. So my second pick is actually It Gets Easier from the Flicker album.
I mean, if you look how many tracks is on the album, you know what I mean? It's I read somewhere, I think it was on online, and it's a perfect description of this album. It's Andy Bell's version of the Beatles' White Album.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a great description. So the track It Gets Easier, for me, that's one of his most beautiful songs. I love the electronic feel. I love his vocal melodies.
Yeah.
Literally, when I first heard it, I really enjoyed it. And then I was up in Berkeley, and I was walking around the beautiful campus of Berkeley, and that song came on in my ears, and I must have repeated it like 10 to 12 times.
Okay.
It's just one of those songs that really speaks to me. It resonates with such musical poetry.
Yeah.
And but this is a total compliment to him. There's something very simple about it. And I know it's not easy, right? We know that. But it's a great arrangement. All these little parts coming together.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to go back to that 1-2 punch. It has that just that very lush sound to it.
It's really nice that you've mentioned that track, because a few months past, you done an interview with James Chapman of Maps. So I play.
Oh, nice!
I play in my. I played a techno electronic set back in May, I think it was, or March, I can't remember. And I will be playing it this Thursday when I'm supporting GLOK, and it's the Maps remix of It Gets Easier. So yeah, I'm going to be dropping that 10-inch in the set.
I think you should. And then to go back to that album and the way that person described it, maybe as the White Album.
Yeah.
It is very expansive. And I feel like he just kind of went for it. And, you know, you have some shorter tracks, you have some longer tracks, and I don't know. It definitely holds my attention quite easily. So yeah. Right.
And the beauty of it is every track is completely different. I did message Andy once. I can't remember the name, what track it is, but it sounds like a 70s American cop show theme. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, it does pretty much. But yeah, there's so much genres in that album.
Yeah. So yeah, his palette is very diverse, and we get to be the lucky recipients of that. All right, do you have another track you want to share?
From his first solo album, The View from Halfway Down, which Andy kindly signed when I was DJing with him down in the Social in Soho last November. So the track's called Skywalker. I love it. It's my favourite track by Andy's solo work. I described it to him, and he loved that I posted this online on social medias. I described it as the Beatles Revolver meets Noi.
Perfect.
So I termed it as Kraut gaze. Yeah.
That's a great pick, and I'm gonna go with my next choice being from that album, and that is I don't know. Let's see if I can hear it. Heat Haze on Wayland Road.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole album I love. There was 7, 8 tracks on that album, I think.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's this like dipping feel that's kind of like this north and south sound to it. It's got, the beautiful psych feel.
Yeah.
It's a very special song. And I'm not sure Wayland Road, what he's alluding to there, where that might be. Another thing about Andy's music, particularly his solo work, is that there are little fine bits of information that we're hearing, but you don't hear it immediately, right? And you kind of have to listen to it again and again, these little textures that he adds.
Yeah.
He's quite clever that way. So I'm going Heat Haze on Wayland Road. Beautiful track.
That track, to me, I think it's got elements of his GLOK work.
Yeah.
Gem worked in that album a lot. When he played bass with Oasis and BDI, so he got really friendly with Gem, who was in another Creation Records band, Heavy Stereo. So yeah, he'd done quite a bit of work in that first solo album, I believe.
It's pretty impressive, his resume of work, right? And he gets to take all those experiences and collectively pool them all together.
Yeah.
And then whatever he's going to be creating for his next album, again, we're the lucky recipients of that.
Yeah.
I have a GLOK tune here, but if you want to share another one, go ahead.
GLOK one I pick is from his most recent album, second GLOK album, Pattern Recognition. So the track has got his wife doing just like talking, really, not singing as such. It's called That Time of Night.
Mm-hmm. So why do you like that one?
It's just got a good groove to it. And I've mixed it in with some techno stuff when I've DJ'd, and I love the way that his wife does the talking through it. I quite like some tracks. It's got like sort of spoken word, but it's got a kind of it does have like acid house vibe to it. The whole GLOK thing is quite acid house, kraut rock, psychedelic, little bits of shoegaze. All his favorite genres, all his passions in music.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's really clever. Yeah.
So I have a feeling the average music listener would have a hard time because the album it's quite long. It's over an hour easily, right?
Yeah.
But that's what I love.
Well, there's some tracks in the GLOK. So there's some tracks in the GLOK albums which are like over 19 minutes long.
I know, and I love that he's just like, screw it, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and you know.
It's a bit like improvisation, He's like jamming away, and he's just bringing his bits in, and that's what he'd done when the world kind of opened up again. He was doing these live shows from a coffee shop in London as his Andy Bell Space Station. So he was dropping in some of his soul. He was no singing, just he was dropping in some of the guitar work from Skywalker and like the electronic beats and vibes from the GLOK work. So yeah, just improvisation. It's really cool.
A lot of synth work, a lot of loops. My track, one of my blue ribbon tracks from Pattern Recognition I put down is Kintsugi. Is that how you pronounce it? Track number 7.
Kintsugi, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the shorter tracks.
Yeah. I think
But
that's
man, in 3.5 minutes, it really condenses it all in this beautiful warm sound. And that warm sound is kind of equates to his vocal work.
Yeah.
When he does his fabulous singing, yeah, there's a beautiful blanket of warmth to it.
Yeah.
That I feel like maybe people don't talk about enough about. I'm not sure. But yeah, that pattern recognition to me is just you sit down and you just kind of close your eyes and get lost in all of the kaleidoscopic sounds.
Yeah.
It's a great one.
Yeah.
Any others you want to share?
Hey, how many tracks is that I've picked? 2 GLOK, 2 solo. No, 1 GLOK, 2 solo, 1 ride. Yeah, there's the last ride album. This is not a safe place. I was lucky enough. It was the second time when the ride reformed, and they played this venue called the Lemon Tree, and it was my second time doing an after show party for them, and I was fortunate enough to see them perform this track live. And it's Andy singing, and he swears in it. I like a swear word myself, being Scottish, but yeah, it's a track 15 minutes from the last ride album, and it takes off. It's like oof, the guitar work. There's I don't know if I'm saying, well, maybe a touch of like kind of like Sonic Youth, because it's really fuzzy in your face guitars. But yeah, that track is really cool.
I'm glad you picked that album. And there's a track on that album that I think is literally one of the most beautiful songs they've ever written.
Let me guess. Future Love.
Nope.
That's amazing.
And it's repetitive in its title, but I think they actually did a video for it. Very simple video. It's Clouds of St. Marie.
Okay. Yeah.
There is something that hits the jugular on that one for me, and it takes that very cathedral ascending sound to it.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful and melodic and gorgeous. I've never seen them play that live. I don't know if they do play that one, but if they do, that's definitely an eye closer and just kind of lose yourself in that experience. Yeah. Which I want to talk to you quickly about their live shows.
Yeah.
So behind me is a poster. This is when they came to San Francisco last year for the ride in Charlatans.
Okay.
And they're coming back again.
They are. Lucky yous. I wish they would do it over here.
They're coming back in January, and man, the cohesiveness on that stage when Ride came out, and there is just such a celebratory feel inside the Fillmore venue in San Francisco. And when the lights went down, I mean, for an hour, maybe they played for an hour and 20 minutes, just so solid. You could just tell that all that experience that they've been on stage together was manifesting itself beautifully. So I love their shows because you get lost inside all of that sound. But the sound to me, even when they do their big numbers, the big squalls, the big foot pedal sounds, it never irritates me.
Yeah.
So can you share with us just kind of, again, that ride experience for you at a show?
And I've seen them live. Oof. Well, I know for a fact. I mean, I can't. There was an interview with them when they reformed, And then the interviewer said, "What's it like now compared to like back in the early 90s?" And I can't remember if it was Andy or Mark that replied. We said we can hear each other now on stage. Better equipment, you know. It's
Yeah.
that does show. Okay, it doesn't like polish it. It's there's still that rawness there because they're in charge of their effects pedals and the guitars that they use, so they still have that edge. But there's just I would say they're tighter because they're maturer, they're older. Yeah, there's more emotion, I think.
Yeah. You captured it beautifully there. And when Andy was on stage, you could just tell that there was a sense of wizardry going on with the way that he was working the guitar. And
yeah.
And you had mentioned it earlier with the way they harmonized together.
Yeah, Andy and Mark's singing together is just beautiful, and all the ahs is just
it all comes together.
It just their voices work really, really well.
So we've explored GLOK, we've explored some Ride, and people forget that his stint with Oasis and BDI and all that stuff. It kind of just shows again the scope of his work.
Yeah, and when I first met Andy, he was 1997, and they played Aberdeen twice, and Hurricane #1.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a promo. I've got 2 copies of Step Into My World, which Andy doesn't sing on it. It's a Scottish guy called Alex Lowe. They released 2 albums, I think, because I saw them twice in Aberdeen. That first time I met him, I was invited backstage, and it was just a table full of free alcohol. So I'm like, okay. Me and Andy were getting on. So I stayed there for a few hours. And then I think it was a few months afterwards, they were playing in a bigger venue in Aberdeen called the Music Hall. They were supporting, and I can't remember who they were supporting, but Andy came out from backstage with this big white fur jacket on, like a polar bear. It's quite funny, polar bear, being on this album. And I thought he was a bit, he's had a few drinks, he was a bit, and he remembered me. He was like, Yogi, the cat staggered over to me, and I'm like, Andy Bell's just remembered me. He's like, what's going on? Yeah. So that was 1997.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're so fortunate to continue to get work from him, whether it be solo outfits or from Ride. So yeah, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to meet you and obviously speak to you about an artist that we both greatly admire. Any closing thoughts, opinions, feelings on our tribute to Andy?
Well, I know that Ride's got another album done. They're just waiting on the record label to say a release date. Yeah, so this Thursday, I'm the support for GLOK, so I'm DJing with Andy, so I'm really looking forward. But we were messaging last night. I was sharing some records I'll be playing, and he said in a message, I'll be on the dance floor when I'm playing certain tracks. And it's quite funny because last November, when I had my first experience DJing in London, and it was the second day, the 18th birthday party for Sonic Cathedral Records, I was headlining, I was DJing after Andy in the Social in Soho. And what Andy was playing was a couple of records that I'll be playing this Thursday. So I thought, I'll play them because you'll love that. It's obviously tunes that he likes.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that is quite a big thing for me this coming Thursday because it's in my hometown.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And can you remind people what time you might be on?
I think 7:30.
Okay.
And I think GLOK will be on about 9 p.m. I think.
Okay.
So yeah, that's this coming Thursday.
Mr. Shoegazer, DJ Yogi, this has been a great pleasure. Thank you for shining the spotlight on Andy Bell with me.
Thank you for asking me. It's been fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. My name is W, host of the High Art on the Edge page. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you, Andy Bell, for all of your creativity, and we will see you soon. Take care, everyone. Ciao.
What an amazing tribute that was. Wow. I can't believe we covered all that ground with Andy Bell's work. Hey, we have some special guests here. Look at this who have joined us. We have the band Masal, also known as Al Johnson and Oz Shimshek, if I got that correct.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us in this conversation regarding this tribute to this amazing craftsmanship of a musician. I want to get started with a few questions, and if you have any stories to share, that would be great. Let's start with this question in terms of how did your relationship and when did your relationship form with Andy?
Sure. Yeah. So it's been a little while, about
3
coming up
years.
to 2.5.
Yeah.
We've lost count because of COVID and everything. But we sometimes play at a lovely little venue called Hot Box in Chelmsford, and it was what was the weekend called?
It was called a Small Venue Week, where they put a big artist in a small venue.
So basically, the venue contacted us and out of the blue and said that Andy Bell had been given the options of lots of local artists, obviously to support him, and he picked us. So would we like to come and support him that evening? And obviously Al and I were really pleased and over the moon about it, and that's kind of how it all began. So it was from that evening, from that very first gig that we supported him at. That's how we met him.
Yeah. But also, right from the very beginning, he was really engaged in what we were doing, wasn't he? And interested and wanted to know how we were working sort of technically and with the harp and everything. Mm. So, it was obvious from the start that we were all going to get along.
Yeah.
What an amazing experience. What I want to also know is how familiar and how did you know Andy's work prior to your relationship?
Well, I'm pretty much the same age as Andy, and I was in quite a lot of sort of noisy bands when I was young, and we were on a sort of similar circuit in the late 80s and early 90s, playing around Camden and all those little venues. So I bought the first EP the day it came out, as I recall. So yeah, I've been there right from the beginning, really. So yeah. I don't think we ever played with them back then, but I played with a lot of their creation bands, played with House of Love and Boo Radley's and people like that. So, somehow I managed to skip a ride, but there you go.
And what about you, Oz?
So my story's a little bit different. I'm actually originally from Turkey, and back in the day, we had a very little influence from the UK. So we had when I was growing up, in the 90s and early 2000s, it was a lot of US influence and very little UK influence. So my introduction to Ride was much later, actually, when I came to the UK after 2005-06, meeting friends who loved Ride and got into their music then. So yeah, a much later introduction to shoegaze as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I speak with many artists, they, particularly in the shoegaze dream pop genre, Ride always comes up in terms of influences or first memorable concerts, what have you. So yeah, it's pretty amazing, that legacy. How did Masal, and how did you unite forces? So you met, he was impressed with your music. What was the next step?
So it all happened really from that night. So that evening,
it was a done deal, wasn't it? On the night. So yeah,
we basically, so we supported Andy, and at the end, I think even before, while we were sound checking, Andy came up and had a go on the harp, and we had a lovely chat about instruments. Obviously, I'm really interested in what he does. You know, it's the guitar, it's not my instrument, but you know, the pedals that he uses and all the effects that he uses. So there was that initial connection anyway, and then from there, I think at the end, after he played, you know, we obviously wanted to say congratulate him for the evening and just had a chat with him, and at that point he said, let's keep in touch and let's do something. So we did. So it was you know, got in touch with him after, and it was a very organic, slow process of just sharing lots of music that we loved over WhatsApp, our little group,
because it was into the second lockdown, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So I think things were still not quite right out there, you know, and obviously venues were opening up, but we weren't quite freely, you know, out and about as such. So sharing lots of music, looking at influences, realizing that we had lots of similar interests in sound and where we would love something to go if we were to produce something together. And that's how it all started. So we swapped recordings. That was the next step. So we actually were jamming. Al and I were here in our studio, and Andy was in his. So we just swapped lots of different recordings and brought it all together. And Al actually did a lot of editing and a lot of looking into what we already had.
It was very long.
It was very, very, I mean,
one of the tracks,
4 hours, 5 hours,
something like that. Yeah, we sat there and between Oz and myself, we sort of took it and tried to give it some structure and a bit more flow. You know, there were bits where like either one of us would be noodling, and then there'd just be a section where it all sort of like locked in. And so, we tried to, without sort of killing it, I didn't cut it all up into loops or anything, but just take the sections and, you know, because all the tracks are very long, and so the idea is that you don't get bored listening to them, that they do sort of change, even if it's quite subtly throughout the piece. So.
And they were improvised pieces, so we improvised and then sent the work to Andy. So we did two pieces both ways. We started to send them over to him, he started to send them to us to work on. So that's kind of how it was a collaborative work.
So from start to finish, how long did that take? That process?
It was just under a year, I think. Can't say exactly, but
no,
it was just under a year, I think.
It wasn't sort of constant, was it? There was sort of like flurries of activity. Then Andy would be off being Andy, doing rides in Japan or wherever he is, and then it, you know. But I think it worked for everyone, really. I mean, I think the album, it doesn't sound like wishy-washy, and it was great fun to do, and a sort of slightly different discipline to when it's just Oz and myself. So it was cool.
When I love, and I just noticed this while doing my homework, the song titles are very stretched out and long, like the track. So what I want to know is, as my conversation with Yogi, as we were trying to get underneath the skin of his work, how does Andy's craftsmanship or his impeccable attention to detail really come out in your workings with him?
I think that was obviously we weren't in the same room when we were doing the albums, but I'll circle back to the titles first. They're all a tribute to the felt tracks that had very long titles, and Andy came up with those, and we sort of edited a couple a little bit, but they were really his idea. But I think when you're talking about working with Andy, when we played live with him, that was when it felt more like a band, and there was more of a sense of the three of us being together. And I'd say the one thing he did, we jam with people all the time because we're quite improvisational, aren't we, in the way we put stuff together. Was he he really gave everyone space, as we always try to. And even though we came together on the night, it just felt right, didn't it?
Yeah.
You know, there's a little bit 5 minutes of nerves when we were all just like, well, how's this going to go?
Because we've never played together before.
No,
not live, anyway.
We hadn't even rehearsed. So to just go in front of like 200 people and then just start playing and see where it went, it was quite nerve-wracking. But I think once we sort of locked into the groove, it went really well. And I think you can see that particularly in the single, the Halo Galo, that's just been released. That you know, that was just like, let's do Halo Galo, and there it is. And it, you know, you would have thought we'd rehearsed that 100 times, wouldn't you? So yeah, I think that was really where I got more of a sense of what it was like working with Andy myself.
What an experience! What an experience!
No, it was. It was a
very, very special night.
Yeah, it was a cracking night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully we get to do it again.
When I have seen him play live with Ride, and he's standing up there in this really commanding presence, but not overbearing. And he's doing his thing. I mean, to me, and I'm not a musician, everything looks kind of effortless. And of course, I know it's not. But the melodies and the hooks and the fine tuning seem to present themselves in such a glorious way for our ears. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I mean, there's that effortlessness because he is a professional. I mean, I think that comes, you know, with years, obviously, of performing, and that did come through when we were together as well. There is that, you know, you know, that is true for sure. It comes
so, and that actually transitions well into my next question. What makes Andy the consummate artist?
That's a difficult one.
That is a difficult question. I think that he's definitely got an ear for a hook, but like Oz says, that it's
he's genuine.
Yeah, he is genuine.
He's genuine.
There's no
himself.
artifice at all. You know, we're nowhere near as well known as Ride or Andy and any of his guises, but he always made us feel like. And that was the one thing I took away from it, that he was just really very nice.
I have actually got that last story to share, William, with you. It was from the very beginning of when we walked in, and I think this sums it up for me for about his kind of my first initial feeling of this is a nice person, and then obviously his music is that added amazing later. But we walked into the venue. I was carrying the harp, you know, as everything was quite heavy. We walked in. He was there sitting at the bar, welcomed us. Hello, and then kind of we walked into obviously the stage area, and there was a lot of stuff to put onto the stage, and you know, he was settling himself, getting stuff ready. There was a moment when Al was on the stage, his back was towards us. I think he needed something. Anyway, he looked around, and our partners were there as well, and he just kind of signaled to his wife Sue, can you please give me something, you know, this bag. And Sue was actually busy and didn't hear him. It was just a natural moment of, you know, didn't hear him. And Andy heard him. And Andy actually went and got Al's bag, brought everything to the stage for him, handed it over. At that moment, I went, this is a really cool dude, you know. He's very in tune. He's in the room. He's really with us, paying attention to what's happening that evening. And I think, you know, yeah, that for me, that moment summed it up. And I went, I like this guy.
Yeah. But relating that back to music as well, it's if you're not in the room with the other people and you're just there thinking that, you know, about what you're doing, like in any band situation, it's different when you're solo because you can do what you want, but you have to be there and like listening to what other people are doing and creating the space and then filling the space when it's left by the others, you know. And he is effortless. He can definitely play the guitar.
Absolutely. You can say that.
Are there any other, as we wrap this up, and thank you again for your invaluable time here, are there any other stories or anything else you'd like to share regarding your experience whilst working with him?
I think it's still forming. Hopefully, you know, we will.
Yeah, there's
carry
talk of another
on-
one next year, isn't there?
carry
So
on potentially collaborating.
yeah,
You know, nothing to add right this moment, but hopefully next time we might.
yeah. When you do part 2, we'll have more stories. So I think the talk was to actually go into a studio and do the next album as well, wasn't it? Rather than doing it, you know, because of the COVID restrictions at the time, rather than doing it remotely, to maybe go to Mark's studio and do it. So that would be great fun.
That would actually bring a different layer as well.
Yeah.
Because obviously, when you're in the same room, there's lots of different ways of collaborating.
Yeah.
And listening to yourself in that moment and creating from scratch. So yeah, that would be the second step, a different process.
Because we've got a recording of the album that we played at the live thing, and I would say that there's bits of that maybe even transcend the studio one.
I agree.
Yeah. You know, actually being there and reacting to each other while we're playing it.
Yeah.
You know, particularly after the sort of first half of the first song, when we all relaxed into it. There was some really great moments. So
what's next for Masal? Do you have any shows coming up? Any new work?
Always playing.
Yeah, we don't stop performing. So we have got a couple more shows in October and November, but really the focus now is on our second album that will be coming out in March. So we hope to be releasing the first single in January. So watch this space. We have a lot.
What's the album called, Oz?
The Galloping Cat.
Easy.
So watch this space for the Galloping Cat.
Yes, and new tracks.
Brand new tracks. And a lot of work is going into it right now. So.
Yeah, that's where we're focused.
That is fantastic. And I know you mentioned you are touring. Can you give us some dates or some locations?
We're playing Southend on the 12th, and then we are in Nottingham on the 19th.
Yeah.
And then we're in Colchester on the 1st of December. And we really should have a list of them, shouldn't we?
We should have had it in front of us. And then on the 16th of December, we're in Colchester again.
We're back in Colchester, and we're just sorting out a new London date, hopefully before the end of the year as well. So yes.
And then what's that I hear? You're coming over to the United States, over to the Bay Area?
Well, it would be nice, wouldn't it? But the trouble that I think all small acts have these days is actually stitching a run of dates together. We get plenty of gigs, but it's quite hard to say get 5 in a row in one place or something like that. We do a lot of traveling and coming back the same night, and then getting up and doing our boring day jobs and all that kind of stuff. So, which is the life, isn't it? But
oh man. Well, Al and Oz, thank you so much for providing some insight and a lens into that experience whilst working with Andy. Super appreciative of your time. Much continued success as you continue on your path, and looking forward to this new album that will be released next year in March.
We'll send it over to you when the press is ready.
Fabulous. And I got to get over to the UK. I have to get over there. There's so many bands I want to see.
For sure.
Thank you so much. And we will talk soon. Take care.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.